In their previous appearance on RWL Snarl, the Hart Foundation falling to the APA. Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart back tonight, ready to face Chris Wylde and Jeff Fortune, the team of Wild Fortune.
The following tag team match, scheduled for one fall with a 20-minute time limit. Approaching the ring at a combined weight of 525 pounds, from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, Bret the Hitman Hart, and from Reno, Nevada, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, the Hart Foundation.
Well, Bret and the Anvil definitely in the market for a win, especially after losing to Farouk and Bradshaw at Snarl. I don't know their chances are going to be any better against Wild Fortune, former tag team champions with a reputation for beating some of the biggest teams in the business.
Their opponents, at a combined weight of 465 pounds, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Chris Wylde, and from Loch Lomond, Virginia, Jeff Fortune, Wild Fortune.
Over 12 years with the company, multiple tag team championship runs, and Chris Wylde is a former Memphis Million winner. Wild Fortune, certainly with a huge reputation in their rookie year. In their first few months within RWL, defeating Dusty Rhodes and Magnum TA and getting themselves quite a bit of notoriety. It don't look good for the Hart Foundation, does it? Jim the Anvil Neidhart giving Jeff Fortune more than a little bit of the side eye as referee Charles Lucero sounds the bell. Whoa, Jeff Fortune accidentally tagging the referee on that one. He caught the knee meant for Jim the Anvil Neidhart, the Anvil, with a clubbing blow to the chest of Jeff Fortune and a couple of kicks. Jeff Fortune laid out center ring as Jim the Anvil Neidhart proceeds to put the boots and fists to the face of Jeff Fortune. Hard right hands from the Anvil, and right back in on the attack a second time. Jeff Fortune catching knuckles to the side of the temple from Jim the Anvil Neidhart. And the Anvil not giving Jeff Fortune any sort of wiggle room. The Anvil all the way up the top, big time crossbody, catches a pair of knees from Jeff Fortune. And here comes Chris Wylde. Chris Wylde catches a right from the Anvil. The Anvil's got him up for the suplex, but Chris Wylde counters, goes behind. German release suplex to the Anvil instead. Chris Wylde, of course, a Memphis millionaire at one time, came in number 15 and survived the rest of the field. For that year, he was known as the Memphis Miracle. Chris Wylde counters a throat chop from the Anvil, gets a hold of the Anvil, and whoa, nice vertical suplex from Chris Wylde. A stomp to the face of the Anvil. Jim the Anvil Neidhart being wound up for the crossface by Chris Wylde. He's got it locked in. The Anvil has nowhere to go. He's going to have to force his way out, and he successfully does so. A hard right to the face of Chris Wylde. Chris, escorted towards the ropes by Jim Neidhart. Neidhart turns him around, nails him with a couple of hard forearms to the back as he bounces back and forth off the ropes. There's an elbow right to the top of the forehead of Chris Wylde. Jim the Anvil Neidhart, very aggressive in this matchup so far, swinging a miss from Chris. A hard right, a hard left, and a double axe handle to Chris Wylde from Jim the Anvil Neidhart. The Anvil with a headlock punch on Chris Wylde. Chris Wylde just being stricken every which way that's conceivably possible. Hung up the top rope, Jim the Anvil Neidhart. A machine here, going to work on Chris Wylde. Over the top and out to the floor on the wrong side of town. Another elbow to the forehead of Chris Wylde, who will definitely want to consider tagging out at this point. He is taking far too much abuse at the hands of Jim the Anvil Neidhart. The Anvil catches a leg sweep from Chris Wylde, who rounds up the Anvil. Tries to kick, but gets countered. There's a throat chop from the Anvil. A clothesline takes Chris Wylde down. It would have been better for him to get back inside the ring. Chris with a kick to the midsection of the Anvil. Gets a hold of Neidhart. Pitches him towards the barricades. Makes his way back inside the ring. Jim the Anvil Neidhart indicating to the fans that no harm was done. Whoa! Chris Wylde with a disastrous move right there, went over the top rope and face first into the barricade. And he's mad about it. He's going to make Jim the Anvil Neidhart pay for it. A set of shots to the face, a stomp to the face. Chris Wylde, mighty provoked about that fail on that high-risk maneuver. The Anvil hurling him towards the timekeeper's area as Jim the Anvil Neidhart makes his way to his corner, and for the first time we get the excellence of execution. Bret the Hitman Hart in for his team, the Hart Foundation. Hard up for a win these days. A kick to the midsection of Chris Wylde. Bret the Hitman Hart whips him over the top rope, out onto the apron, hangs him up the top rope, and right down to the floor he goes again. Bret the Hitman Hart goes right out after him, catches an elbow to the midsection from Chris. Chris rounded up over the shoulder in a fireman's carry by the Hitman, but he counters it. Inverted DDT out there on the floor. The back of Bret Hart's head bouncing off that floor. Rolling elbow doesn't find the mark. A kick to the midsection does. Chris Wylde rounds him up for a suplex. Bret the Hitman Hart, now he's starting to take a beating on the outside. An elbow to the chest again from Chris Wylde. And it has been all Chris Wylde. For the first quarter of this match, Jeff Fortune hasn't even had a tag yet. Here's a crossface on the outside. He could tap out and it wouldn't matter. Chris Wylde releasing the hold. No. Bret Hart counters the hold and escapes it. The Hitman finally getting Chris back inside the ring. Jeff Fortune begging to be let in, and he does. Jeff Fortune taking over for Wylde Fortune. A kick to the midsection of Bret the Hitman Hart. Jeff Fortune rounds him up for a vertical suplex. Oh, no, slam face first into the canvas. Jeff Fortune switching things up, gets slammed to the canvas himself by Bret the Hitman Hart. The Hitman takes himself to the top turnbuckle. Jeff stands up. Here we go. Nobody caught it. Hardly anyone caught anything. Jeff Fortune whipped to the Hart Foundation's corner. Bret the Hitman Hart drives him face first into the turnbuckle. The Hitman with a hard right and a second. Jeff Fortune catches a chop across the chest. He rolls out and collapses towards center ring. Bret the Hitman Hart gathers him back up again. Whoa, spinning clothesline to Jeff Fortune. Oh, he's favoring his neck. Here comes Jim the Anvil Neidhart. And the Hart Foundation firmly in control of Wylde Fortune at the present time. The Anvil with a throat chop to Jeff. Takes him towards the corner, head first into the turnbuckle. Goes Jeff Fortune. Jeff counters with an elbow to Jim the Anvil Neidhart. A hard right. But the Anvil counters again, tags him with a right to the face. The Anvil gathers him up. A nice suplex from Jim Neidhart. Jeff Fortune gathered up again by Anvil. The Anvil cross for the... Oh, no dice. Jeff Fortune was on to him. The Anvil counters with a shot to the midsection. Swings and misses like a bear swiping his paw. Gets a hold of Jeff Fortune. Another suplex from Jim the Anvil Neidhart, who turns it over to Bret the Hitman Hart on the tag. Jeff Fortune laid out near the corner as Bret the Hitman Hart drives a knee into the arm of Jeff Fortune. A kick to the back. The Hart Foundation firmly in control this time. Here's a tag to Chris Wylde. Into a power slam out of no place. Chris Wylde tags Bret with a right. Bret counters with elbows to the midsection. Bret the Hitman Hart countered by Chris Wylde. A chop across the chest from Chris. Bret the Hitman Hart escorted to the far right corner. Head first into the turnbuckle he goes. Chris turns him around. Double axe handle across the back. And again, face first into the turnbuckle. A boot to the chest. A second. Chris Wylde turning things around here for Wylde Fortune. How quick and in a hurry. Driving the knee of Bret the Hitman Hart into the canvas. Follows that up with a stomp. Chris Wylde gathers up the Hitman. Hard whip to the ropes. He fails to connect with the grapple. Bret puts on the brakes. There's a kick to the midsection from Chris. And a clubbing overhand right down goes Bret the Hitman Hart. Chris Wylde dragging the Hitman towards center. He was trying to get to his corner. He shoves away Chris with both boots. Gets a hold of Chris Wylde. Bret the Hitman Hart with a pile driver on Chris Wylde. No doubt an absolute desperation maneuver. Bret Hart determined to put a stop to Chris Wylde's aggression. Chris trying to make it to a standing position, but no good to Hitman. He's locking in the sharpshooter. Chris Wylde in trouble. Jeff Fortune trying to make it, but oh my, it is too late. Chris Wylde tapping out. The Hart Foundation picking up a win over Wylde Fortune by submission. Let's get the official time from Aria Mitchell.
Here's the time, 8 minutes and 34 seconds. And your winners, the Hart Foundation.
Yeah, I got tons of respect for Chris and Jeff, but it does my heart good to see the Hart Foundation finally pick up one, for crying out loud.
The Hart Foundation very happy with this win over Wylde Fortune. Now they need to chain a few more behind it. Bret the Hitman Hart nailing Jeff Fortune with that pile driver, and then ending it with the sharpshooter. Ladies and gentlemen, when we return, our main event for the evening, a triple threat match to determine who will be Warlord Santos' next opponent for the King of Legends Championship.